Imagine waking up in space, completely alone. The ship is silent, the stars stretch endlessly beyond the window, and every other soul around you is still asleep, dreaming of a world you'll never see. How long could you stay sane? How far would you go to escape the loneliness that follows you like a shadow? Welcome back to my channel, Real Movie Breakdown. Today, we're exploring an original story inspired by the spirit of Passengers 2016, a haunting tale of isolation, moral choices, and what it truly means to be human. The story begins aboard a colossal ship called EOS 9, drifting silently between galaxies. Inside lie 10,000 sleeping passengers, suspended in crystal pods, their dreams frozen for a journey that will last more than a century. When the navigation lights flicker for just a second, one pod hisses open. Inside is Ethan Cole, a maintenance engineer from Earth, 32 years old, now awake 92 years too early. At first, confusion takes over. Bright corridors, calm computer voices, instructions that make no sense. He walks through endless halls lined with sleeping faces, hoping someone else has awakened, but there's no one. The control panel answers every question with a cruel truth. Arrival in 92 years. Cryo systems locked. Re-entry impossible. He tries sending a message to Earth. Transmission time, 58 years one way. No one will hear him in his lifetime. Days pass, then weeks. He eats alone, laughs at the ship's training videos, and starts talking to a service robot named Harper, a polished machine built to serve drinks and repeat polite phrases. In the beginning, Harper is only a distraction. But soon Ethan programs it to respond more naturally. He gives it sarcasm, curiosity, and finally, a name. For the first time in months, he feels less alone. Time becomes strange inside EOS 9. Without sunrise or sunset, Ethan measures days by the sound of the engines. He reads the passengers' profiles, scientists, artists, farmers. People who volunteered for a new beginning on a planet called Eden Prime. Among them, he finds Dr. Aria Vance, an astrophysicist with a smile captured forever in her cryopod glass. Her research papers are stored in the ship's library. He reads them all, fascinated by her ideas of consciousness and time. Slowly, admiration turns into obsession. He visits her pod every night, talking to her through the glass, as if she could somehow hear him through the sleep. Harper warns him gently. Emotional attachment to unconscious subjects may impair mental stability. But Ethan laughs it off. He says, "I'm not in love. I'm just talking to another human." Yet deep down, he knows he's lying. The loneliness grows heavier each day. The ship's silence becomes a living thing, a presence that watches him, reminding him that every heartbeat is a countdown to dying alone. One night, while watching Aria's sleeping face, he whispers a thought he's never dared to speak. If I wake her up, at least neither of us will die alone. Ethan spends weeks debating the decision. He runs simulations, reads every manual, and prays for an accident that would make the choice for him. But fate stays silent. Finally, after 314 days of isolation, he overrides the safety lock. Her pod releases a burst of cold vapor, and for the first time in 90 years, another heartbeat joins his. Aria opens her eyes, terrified and disoriented. Ethan plays his part, the malfunction story, the accidental wake-up. And for a while, she believes it. Together they explore the ship, learning to garden in the hydro bay, dancing in the zero-gravity lounge, and watching stars drift by like slow-moving ghosts. For the first time in a year, Ethan laughs honestly, but happiness built on a lie cannot last. Harper, following its programming, one day mentions the truth. Ethan manually disengaged cryopod 427 occupant Arya Vance. The words echo like thunder. Arya's face drains of color. The man she thought was her savior was the reason she lost her future. She runs, she screams. Ethan tries to explain the loneliness, the madness, the silence that eats people alive. But some truths cannot be forgiven. For days she refuses to speak to him, choosing instead to live in a small engineering bay, recording messages to a planet she will never reach. Time stretches again. Two souls on the same ship, now divided by guilt. But the universe is never quiet for long. A cosmic storm strikes ES9, damaging the main reactor and shutting down artificial gravity. Lights flicker, alarms howl, and systems begin to fail one by one. Arya's scientific instincts take over. Despite her anger, she rushes to the control deck to stabilize the reactor. Ethan follows, desperate to help, or at least to protect her. Together, they crawl through maintenance shafts, fire and smoke swirling around them, their suits melting from the heat. She needs him to hold the coolant line steady, and he does, even as plasma burns through his gloves. The pain is unbearable, but he doesn't let go. The reactor stabilizes barely. Power returns to the ship, but Ethan collapses, hands ruined. For the first time since learning the truth, Arya looks at him and sees not a monster, but a man who's already living in his own punishment. She bandages his hands and sits silently beside him, watching the stars crawl past the window. Months pass. The ship is quiet again, but something has changed between them. Arya still feels the weight of betrayal, yet loneliness softens even the hardest pain. One evening, she finds Ethan in the observation dome, painting constellations on the glass with his damaged fingers. He turns and says softly, "I never asked you to forgive me. I just didn't want to vanish without being known." For the first time, she doesn't walk away. They sit together in silence, the distance between them slowly shrinking as the endless stars glow outside. Love doesn't return suddenly. It creeps in quietly, like sunlight after a long storm. They begin writing messages for future passengers, detailing how to maintain the ship, how to find beauty even in endless isolation. Harper helps them record everything into the ship's log. Human experience, ES9, year 38. Decades pass. Ethan grows older. His hair turns silver. But Arya, ever curious, keeps studying the ship's systems. One day, she discovers a hidden protocol. The MedPod can induce temporary hibernation. Not a full cryosleep, but enough to pause aging for decades. Only one person can use it. She shows it to Ethan. He smiles and shakes his head. "You should take it," he says. "Finish the journey. Tell them our story." But Arya refuses to leave him behind again. Together, they decide to use the pod alternately. One sleeps while the other stays awake, keeping the ship alive and keeping hope alive with it. Years blur into centuries of half-dreams. The ship continues its endless journey, a silver arrow cutting through eternity, carrying to stubborn hearts who refuse to surrender. 92 years later, the EOS-9 finally reaches orbit around Eden Prime. The cryopods begin to open automatically. New passengers step into a world bathed in twin suns, lush forests, silver oceans, and skies untouched by pollution. As they explore the observation deck, they find something extraordinary. The walls are covered in vines and flowers, a self-sustaining garden grown inside the ship. At its center stands a plaque, hand-carved with trembling letters. We were not meant to live forever, but to love long enough to be remembered. Ethan and Arya. They never made it to the planet, but their garden did, a symbol of life born from loneliness. Their story isn't about escape. It's about acceptance. That sometimes survival isn't just staying alive. It's finding meaning even when you have no tomorrow. Ethan's decision was selfish, but it created a legacy of compassion and endurance. Arya's forgiveness didn't erase the pain, but transformed it into purpose. Together, they turned a cold, empty ship into a sanctuary filled with warmth, music, and memory. And long after they were gone, their story continued to breathe through the people who woke next. A reminder that even in the darkest void, the human heart still finds a reason to hope. If you felt something while listening to this story, if it reminded you of what love and loneliness can do to a human soul, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, Real Movie Breakdown, because every day we explore more stories that remind us what it means to be alive, even when we're all just drifting among the stars.